Hanoi to ban petrol motorbikes to clean up capital's chronic air pollution. Vietnam will ban fossil fuel motorcycles and mopeds in the heart of the capital, Hanoi, starting July 2026, as part of a nationwide effort to curb air pollution. The directive, issued by Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh, applies to the area inside and along the main ring road that encircles the center of Hanoi. The local government has been tasked with removing the two-wheelers by the deadline. Like the rest of Vietnam, motorcycles are the main mode of transport for most of Hanoi's 8 million residents. The city has nearly 7 million motorcycles and just over 1 million cars. But as incomes rise and more people switch to private vehicles, air pollution from traffic has become a growing concern. Hanoi is often covered in thick smog, ranking among the most polluted cities worldwide. Vietnam also wants to switch from fossil fuel to electric vehicles to cut pollution and tackle climate change. Local EV maker VinFast is leading the shift by holding nearly a fifth of the market share, according to the European Chamber of Commerce. But it still has only a small share of the two-wheeler market. But many are concerned about the unclear plan for phasing out the vehicles. Nguyen Van Hung, 62, has spent 3 decades driving a motorcycle taxi in Hanoi, now working with Grab, a ride-hailing app widely used across Southeast Asia. He worries the ban will hit the working class hardest. It will affect people who rely on motorbikes to earn a living, he said, pointing to delivery drivers, commuters and ride-hailing services. How can people just discard their vehicles? Others said that the timeline was unrealistic. Hoang Duy Dung, 32, an office clerk who works in the city center, said he supports cleaner air but believes it is too soon. We need better public transport and more support before such a big change. Central Hanoi is home to much of the city's business activity, including offices, government buildings and commercial hubs. A second phase, set to begin in January 2028, will expand the ban to a wider area and include all fossil fuel two-wheelers, while also restricting some gasoline-powered cars. Other measures include upgrading waste treatment plants, using digital tools to monitor pollution and introducing stricter penalties for violators. Whistleblowers could be rewarded for reporting environmental breaches. Hanoi implements landmark petrol bike ban to combat toxic air pollution. Vietnam has announced a sweeping prohibition on fossil fuel-powered motorcycles and mopeds in central Hanoi, effective July 2026, marking a bold step in addressing the capital's severe air quality crisis. The policy, mandated by Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh, will initially cover the area within and adjacent to the city's primary ring road, with authorities tasked with enforcing the gradual phase-out. As the dominant mode of transport in Hanoi, motorcycles account for nearly 7 million of the city's 8.5 million registered vehicles. However, worsening traffic emissions have exacerbated the metropolis's hazardous smog, frequently ranking it among the world's most polluted urban centers. The ban aligns with Vietnam's broader transition toward electric vehicles, or EVs, to mitigate environmental degradation and climate change impacts. While domestic EV manufacturer VinFast has gained traction, commanding nearly 20% of the automotive market, electric two-wheelers remain a niche segment, raising concerns over feasibility. Critics argue the policy disproportionately burdens low-income earners. Nguyen Van Hung, a 62-year-old motorbike taxi driver, warns that the measure will devastate gig workers, delivery riders, and commuters reliant on affordable transport. Forcing people to abandon their primary livelihood tools without viable alternatives is impractical, he asserts. Skepticism also surrounds the aggressive timeline, with office worker Hoang Duy Dung cautioning that inadequate public transit infrastructure could render compliance unrealistic. Environmental progress is necessary, but execution must be equitable, he contends. The second phase, commencing in 2028, will broaden restrictions to all petrol-powered two-wheelers across expanded zones while imposing limits on certain gasoline cars. Complementary initiatives include modernizing waste facilities, deploying AI-driven pollution tracking, and incentivizing public reporting of violations. While the move signals Vietnam's commitment to sustainable urbanization, its success hinges on parallel investments in mass transit and subsidies to ease the transition for marginalized communities. Tsunami waves reach California and Hawaii after massive earthquake in Russia. Tsunami waves have reached California and Hawaii several hours after a powerful 8.8 magnitude earthquake in Russia's Far East. The U.S. National Tsunami Warning Center said Wednesday morning that tsunami waves measuring 1.6 feet above tide level have been observed in Arena Cove in the U.S. state of California. In Hawaii, tsunami waves of up to 4.9 feet above tide level were registered, although the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center has said available data suggests a major tsunami is not expected to strike the island state. The NWS told people in the affected states to follow instructions from government agencies and to be observant and exercise caution if they are near or in the ocean. It warned that sea level changes and strong currents are still possible close to the shore and in harbors and marinas. It added that officials are assessing damage but have not reopened coastal evacuation areas and warned residents to stay clear of these areas. The advisories came after a powerful 8.8 magnitude earthquake off Russia's far eastern Kamchatka Peninsula in the early hours of Wednesday morning. The quake triggered tsunami warnings in Japan and several states in the western United States, including Hawaii, Alaska, and California. The earthquake sparked evacuation orders in Hawaii and Japan. The U.S. Coast Guard also ordered commercial vessels in harbors in Hawaii to evacuate. Japan issued tsunami warnings for much of its eastern coastline, and lower-level advisories in other parts of the country, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. The agency estimated that a tsunami would strike Hokkaido, the area of Japan that is closest to the quake's epicenter, at 10 a.m. Japan local time, with an estimated maximum height of 3 meters. Kiyomoto Masashi, an official from the Japan Meteorological Agency, cautioned people in coastal areas to move to higher ground, adding that tsunamis can occur for more than a day after the quake, according to local media. Tsunami waves hit California and Hawaii following major earthquake in Russia. Powerful tsunami waves have reached the coastlines of California and Hawaii hours after a massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake struck Russia's far east. According to the U.S. National Tsunami Warning Center, waves measuring 1.6 feet above normal tide levels were recorded in Arena Cove, California. Meanwhile, Hawaii experienced waves as high as 4.9 feet, though the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center indicated that data does not suggest a severe tsunami threat to the islands. Authorities have urged residents in affected areas to heed official guidance and remain vigilant, particularly those near the ocean. The National Weather Service, NWS, warned that fluctuating sea levels and dangerous currents could persist near shorelines, harbors, and marinas. Damage assessments are ongoing, and coastal evacuation zones remain closed, with officials advising the public to avoid these areas until further notice. The tsunami advisories were triggered by a powerful earthquake near Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula in the early hours of Wednesday. The tremor prompted tsunami alerts in Japan and multiple U.S. states, including Hawaii, Alaska, and California. In response, Hawaii and Japan issued evacuation orders, with the U.S. Coast Guard directing commercial vessels in Hawaiian ports to leave. Japan's meteorological agency issued tsunami warnings for much of its eastern coast, with lower-level advisories in other regions. Officials predicted waves of up to 3 meters could reach Hokkaido, the area nearest the quake's epicenter, by mid-morning local time. Kiyomoto Masashi, a representative from Japan's meteorological agency, urged coastal residents to seek higher ground, noting that tsunami risks could persist for over 24 hours after the initial quake. The situation remains under close monitoring as authorities continue to evaluate potential hazards.